I've interviewed a lot of people, and there's one side of the spectrum where these successful entrepreneurs say, you know what, Louis, the key to growing your business is going all in on one focus. That's the key, right? That's what some say.
Yeah.
But there's others like yourself who've invested in every business in the world, it seems like, and seen lots of them grow and been successful in that way. Do you feel like, is that just like your creative nature where it's like you want to invest, this is your part of your path right now where you want to invest in lots of brands because you did so much in one thing for so long?
No, I think I'm more towards the person here. So when I invest in brands and companies, I invest in them because they're allowing me to be part of their dream, but I'm also learning from them, which is in return allowing me to go back to my special skill set and improve it. So I'll give you an example.
So you're learning from the people you invest in a lot.
I'm constantly learning every single day. So in PowerShift, I highlighted my investment on Bombas socks. Now these guys are the number one investment in Shark Tank history. The Ring, who did not get an investment, went and did really well.
Did $1 billion.
It did $1.2 billion sale.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, and good for
and
Jamie.
You were there when.
Yeah, I said no, and Jamie ended up becoming a guest shark one time, and he said when he came in the tank, he was asking too much money, and but I believe that because we tenderized him like that, and he went out and raised money, I think we deserve 5%, but that's just I'll leave it up to him.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that I send him an email every other day saying just 5%. All right, I'm willing to go 4.25. But
but the socks.
But the socks
was the best investment you made,
and it's the number one. It's the number one product in Shark Tank history.
Really? In terms of how much it's grown?
How much it's grown and how much it's grossed. Really? Now, I want to make sure that because I know you interview a lot of people. Yeah. So if you ever interview the underachievers that sit next to me in the tank, I want to make sure that you remind them
that you're the number one investor.
I am King Kamehameha on the tank. All right? Just make sure it was clear. But let's give you that example.
What was that deal and how big has it grown?
They've done over $200 million. I think it's $280 million. More importantly, so their deal is a sock, and every time you buy a pair of socks, they give a pair away to the homeless because they have a big challenge.
That's cool.
And we don't normally talk about the number. It's more important that we've given away 30 million pairs of socks, right?
That's pretty cool.
Thank you. And it's really Dave and Randy's company, and they've done it all. They've gotten very little to almost no advice from me because they're so great.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna give you an example on the negotiation. They come into the tank. The only shark that doesn't want clothes is somebody who has 10 clothing companies and 8 are dead. My reason for being on the tank, besides investing in other people, is to diversify my portfolio. So when I talk to a retailer, I go, well, I'm already taking up real estate in the clothing area. I want real estate in the electronics area. I want real estate in lotion, da-da-da. The last thing I want is socks. Also, I have, 20,000 units of socks that I can't sell. When I can't sell socks, I just send people over to people's houses. They steal one, and then you have to buy a pair because you just think you lost it, right? So I still can't sell it. Plus, if I do the deal, I'm the logo whore. You can't if anybody in this room or in this building were wearing Bombas socks, you couldn't tell. So how do I get the advertising out of it? But they managed to make me understand that today's generation wants to give every time they purchase instead of at the end of the year.
They want impact.
They don't want to buy from people who are just making money. They want to know, what did you do for somebody else? So that's one thing I learned that I applied to all my businesses because you couldn't do that before social media. You could, but
you couldn't get the word out that much.
And then plus you would have to advertise off of people's hardships, right? You wouldn't have self-generated content of people saying thank you, right? So I learned that. I also learned that because the consumer purchased and it was part of a movement, they talk about it at the dinner table, at the water cooler, and that's your advertisers. You don't need the traditional form of advertising because people want to brag when they're doing something well. Right. And then last but not least, they were showing me how to sell directly to my consumer and not being at the mercy of a retailer who still doesn't know what they're doing. So they shifted the power in the room to get me to do a deal.
So you weren't interested.
I wasn't interested.
Everyone else was.
Not everybody else was interested, but I was the last shark to be interested because I'm too jaded by the fashion industry. Lo and behold, I do the deal. And that's what a power shift is, being able to know your target, know what's beneficial for that person, know where you're willing to draw the line, and really know how to relate to that person and communicate with them.
What is it that they said that shifted the power inside of your mind to say, okay, I got to get into this?
Well, they showed me that the technology on the socks were really good because they didn't have the seam in the toe. When me being a manufacturer, I didn't know how they did that at first. It was a simple change, but I used to get irritated in the toes when they're doing that. But more importantly,
you have to put it on this certain way.
Yeah, of course. More importantly, they showed me that the data they received from their consumer was able to give them the ability to keep selling their consumer and keep talking directly to them, and that they no longer were at the mercy of if a retailer makes the best decision or puts your socks out over here or advertises your socks or discounts them or anything else, right? So they were showing me how to control the business. It's very much like content, sending it out and getting to know a dashboard of your consumer. And I learned so much from them. But it was them understanding that, Daymond, I'm going to take you out of the old way of you doing business and move you into the new way of doing business. And guess what? If it doesn't work out, we're going to do another business together and we're going to make some money or change the world and more than likely have some fun.
That's cool. Who has taught you the most in the last 11 years of this show?
Them.
Them?
They have. I joke about my fellow sharks, but I definitely learn from them.
Is that just because they pay you the most every month? You get a check every month.
I see the business operating. I see them being laser focused. I see a lot of things that they do. They have probably taught me the most.
Yeah. Who was someone that you didn't invest in that taught you the most? Whether it be like a good lesson or a lesson you're like, okay, that's what not to do.
Someone that I didn't.
Or maybe someone inspired you, but you didn't see a right fit for you, and they taught you something.
Listen, I learned. I'm not saying to be warm and fuzzy. I learned from every single one of these entrepreneurs how they operate the business or how they fail. Yeah. A lot of time when they fail, it confirms theories that I have. Because whenever I fail, I look at a checklist of all the things and I go, why did I do this? This is not what I do. Yeah. Why did I not take my own damn advice? So I can't name just one of them to tell you the truth. But I look at entrepreneurs like Jeff Bezos and learn and go, as big as you are affecting the world, and you will still be scrappy enough to say, hey, Amazon workers, you want to make a couple extra dollars when you're going home, you can take a package home and why is that beneficial? Well, first of all, the worker gets to drive home and takes home a package and makes more money. You're a worker of Amazon, so Amazon trusts you with the box, and Amazon saves on shipping.
Like takes a package home that you bought for something?
No, meaning...
Just take anything you want.
Take it and drop it off.
Oh, drop it off someone in your neighborhood.
Yeah, wherever. Hey, I got to drive 2 miles. I got to drive 10 miles, but I looked in the system and 7 houses are on the way the 10 miles.
Wow.
You
can make extra money doing that.
You can make extra, yeah.
That's pretty smart. I'll be picking up whole truckloads.
And it wins for everybody, right? But when I look at an entrepreneur like Jeff Bezos who does stuff like that, I go, he's still scrappy. He's still thinking, you know what I mean?
Got all this money in the bank, but he's still trying to maximize it.
Yeah, he's still scrappy.
Who's someone that you've been a shark with, whether it be a consistent shark or someone who's come and gone, that maybe you weren't sure about in the beginning, but the power shifted over time where they did something or you did something to renegotiate the relationship, where you started doing more together, you started to have a respect more for?
Nobody's ever asked me that, and I don't think I've ever even told her.
We're on the school of greatness,
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even tell her, but she's in the book, Bethany Frankel. So
really?
I had met Bethany with 1 or 2 other sharks, I forgot when it was, like on backstage at GMA. And I had already seen the show a couple of times, and of course they're drinking and cursing at each other. And we say hi, and she just like brushes us off and walks by. And I remember saying to myself, I don't really like that woman. I don't get a good feeling from her. So when they casted her to come on as a guest shark, I said at first, listen, I don't want to be on the panel with her because I already have this kind of like fuck you attitude to her, and it may come off wrong because it'll look like I'm either beating up on a new shark or I'm being too aggressive to a female.
Wow.
By mistake, they scheduled me to be on with her.
By mistake or by...
No, on purpose. No, by mistake. They scheduled me to be on purpose. Oh, no, here's what I'm sorry. We all meet at one place for the shark dinner prior to production. I was like, she seems all right, whatever. And then they scheduled me to be on with her. And when I was on with her, brilliant person. Like,
Really?
she wasn't about herself. She really cared about the entrepreneur, which we all do. But I thought, I'm not going to speak for others, that she was going to come on and be self-absorbed and do the reality show thing from where she's at. She made fun of herself. She was very, she had a humbleness, a humility. And then when we left that set, she went directly to Mexico for the earthquakes and various other things. And she called all her friends and said, if you got a private jet, do me a favor. Pack it up. I got supplies and food and whatever the case is. I need these jets for Puerto Rico, for Mexico. And she spent the next month going out and really being there hand to hand and giving people stuff. And I fell in love with her after that.
Wow.
And she is like somebody that I super admire. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Have you guys done deals together, or are you?
We haven't done a deal together, and we're so busy we can't always catch up. But she's offered me to stay over at her home in the Hamptons, and my wife loves her, and she's just an amazing individual. That cool. I walked in the room at first, and I was like, she's an asshole.
Yeah, you wrote her off, and then now you're inspired.
Now she inspires me. Yeah.
And who's the person who's taught you the most, whether it be a consistent shark or someone who's come on for a couple episodes?
No single shark has taught me the most, because I learned from all of them. They're all they all are really fascinating in their space. I think Barbara, though, sometimes is the one that can influence me the most because I love marketing and branding. Yeah. But I'm a one-trick pony. I'll get it on a celebrity, get it on a famous show, or get it on whatever the case is, and then I'll make inventory. Barbara will come with ideas out of nowhere. Just out. I mean, she pulls it out of the air, and they're brilliant ideas, and they're very rarely are they similar. Really? Yeah, they're not a one-trick pony thing. She's just. So
she'll think of a creative idea for a specific thing, and not just say, "Oh, I've got this celebrity who'd be great for it every time." Or
correct. She's a genius when it comes to that.
Yeah, we had her on. She was great.
Did she touch you?
No comment.
Okay. Yeah, she's a predator. Full predator.
She's a sweet woman.
Her husband right there and he's usually like this. Oh, God.
No, I think I actually posted that she was on, and I think that was the first thing you texted me.
Yeah. She'll touch you.
She's great, though. I like her a lot. So power shift. How did you?
What are you laughing about?
I'm just remembering your text to me. I think you added the dad joke in there as well. What I like about this, I went through a lot of this.
You did?
And I usually don't read anything.
I was about to say,
but I went through a lot of this, and I'm trying to find the bookmark that I had on one of these pages. But what I like is that at the end of every chapter, you talk about these kind of like little bullet points.
To break things down.
And I relate that in this book. Now, you've done a bunch of books in the past.
Yeah.
Why do you need another book? It's like...
So, I think that's a good question. I don't write books to write books, and this is my third one in 5 years, and me being dyslexic, it is not easy.
I know the feeling, man.
It's really not easy. I think that a lot of people out there are misinformed. They need information, and I think if you look at a lot of your books, my books, and various other people, and we happen to know each other, but I believe that if you read a vast amount of things and you start to see that all these people don't know each other, but they're all saying something very similar. Mm-hmm. And if you're applying that to your life, that's how it happened to me by reading Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, or Greatest Salesman of Babylon, or Blue Ocean Strategies, all these. And I started to see these things that come together. It gives you more power to go out and execute. Sure. So the reason I wrote this book is because a lot of people that came up to me and started saying, I can't take control of my life, or I've heard people say, or act like somebody else is supposed to issue them power, or somebody took power away from them. And I realized that people always thought negotiation, first of all, you're negotiating every minute of your life. Yep. You're negotiating to get into the bathroom before your husband or wife, or getting your child on the school bus.
Take yourself to the gym, whatever.
Yeah, you're negotiating,
eat something healthy.
And I realized that people always thought negotiations purely transactional. When you get to the table, I'm sitting across from you, right? And it's not. It's about building influence. Mm-hmm. Then it's transactional, and the transaction needs to be what's in it for the person across the table, not what's in it for you. And then more importantly, it's developing that relationship and letting it grow over the course of time and doing 10, 20, 30, 40 other deals, or having 10, 20, 30, 40 other people telling other people how great you are to do other deals. And people always thought that it was like that. So
Yeah.
So I ended up putting it in the book.
The other book I have is marked up. Now I'm remembering the two things I wanted to talk about in here. One is a story about 6X. Now, you don't give yourself enough credit about how creative you are. Because you said you're a one-trick pony. You'll just find a celebrity and put the merch on them and put it on a big show or something. But something you talked about was a story on how when you were getting started out, you started developing 6X t-shirts with your logo on the back, which I thought was brilliant because it's the biggest real estate in the club.
Yeah, so what happened was
it's amazing.
So I guess, and that's a good point. So the story goes that I didn't have a lot of money for shirts, and I wanted to get. I grew up in Hollis, Queens, and everybody's from Hollis, Queens. LL Cool J, Run DMC, Ja Rule, 50 Cent, Salt and Pepper, Tribe Called Quest,
J-Lo, whatever.
Well, J-Lo not from Queens.
Where is she from?
She's from the Bronx, but a lot of these people from Queens. But I could, if I gave you a shirt. Everybody was approaching you. It's just like going up to an influencer. They didn't want the shirt. I didn't want to give it to the kids with the funny mustaches and the skateboards because they would just wear it once and throw it away.
Right.
But I realized that
the big celebrities were probably had
entourage. They had an entourage around. So what did I have to do? I had to build influence. And how did I do that? Well, I had 50 shirts that I could buy. So I bought 50 5X and 6X shirts. I realized the big guys never had fashionable clothes to wear because all they had was like big black shirt, a big white shirt, or they'd have to pay a massive amount of money to get it custom made. I bought 50 of these shirts. I handed them to all the big guys I knew, where I would see. Those big guys ended up being the guys in front of the red rope of the club, the guys who were the bodyguards for people, the guys who were just big billboards and joyous, right? And they would wear the FUBU stuff 10 times a month because they finally felt fashionable. Wow. What would happen at that point is after the rappers saw it on these guys for about a year, the rappers would go, yo, what's up, man? Am I shop liver? Yeah, where's mine? I'm like, I couldn't get to you. Yo, you're too big of a star. Man, I ain't trying to bother. No, I'll wear it. Because then they would ask the big guy who normally is like the bodyguard and they don't have nothing to say to them. They'd be like,
hey, where'd you get that?
Where's that little dude at? And the big guy would feel good. I'll see if I can get you.
I know a guy.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get you one. And that is how I started building influence internally, with my customer.
That's smart. Yeah, when I read that, I was like, you're more creative than you think.
No, I get it, but I generally narrow myself down to I'm a numbers person, and at the end of the day, it was numbers to me. It was like they'll wear it 10 times every one time somebody else will wear it. There's not many of them, and they're a selected number of group around a selected number of people.
Yeah,
I was more about the numbers.
It's like, when I read that story, I was like, okay, who are all the assistants of the most iconic people that I want to know, that I want to interview?
Exactly.
And what can I send them that will make them be reminded of me? And every time I want to call or say, hey, is Oprah ready for the interview or whatever?
Yeah.
It's like they might push it in a little more.
And I take it even a step further. Some of your digital courses you give to them, you give to a bunch of people. And you say you're a part of a select community. I know you're the gatekeeper of these people, but I know that also if you find value in this stuff, not only am I enriching your life, but sooner or later you may say to the people that you work for if it's powerful enough. And say, if you don't say it to them, then guess what? Maybe you'll give me more information on how to make it better for you and give me some real criticism that I can do it because you're seeing everything across your plate.
Right, I like that.
Creating a select community.
The power of 6X, I like that story. And then I read, I think it was in the middle of the book, in one of the end parts, I think you were doing research from like all the top universities that said that you should lead with the offer first.
Yes.
When you're making a negotiation, where I've always heard that you want to wait for someone to make the offer.
That is a very common.
Wouldn't you think that? It's like you never want to show your cards.
They say that the one who says the number first is the one that loses and things of that nature. I actually like the negotiation part of laying it on the table. Here's where I'm at with this. Here's what I seek.
Here's what I want.
Here's what I want, and here's what value that I could bring to you. And I think it just takes the question out of the room. But
what if you could have gotten more?
Then you could have gotten it more. But what if you say something and somebody's, well, we're not even in that ballpark. Right. You can always upsell. You can always say, here's where I would like to be, and then someone says, and here's what I'm willing to give. And they'll be like, well, we want more than that. I'll be like, okay, but I gave you where I was at, but it cost me more.
Right.
It cost me more time or energy or product or inventory or whatever the case is, or relationships.
Yeah. Sounded like an online marketer. The upsell word here.
Of course. Listen, there's only, what do they say? There's only 3 ways to deal with a customer: acquire a new one, upsell a current one, or make one buy more frequently. There's only 3 ways.
Recurring.
Yeah.
That's the best way right now.
Exactly.
What's the best negotiation you feel like you did? Not where you gained the most, but where both parties won the most. Not where you're like,
when
I
negotiated my deal with Bruce and Norman Weisfeld over at Samsung, I negotiated out of ignorance, but I got the best deal. At first, I was a young kid. I was 19 or 20. They interviewed me. They heard about FUBU. They were interviewing various other people because they were thinking about getting into, they were already in the outerwear space, but they wanted to get into the denim, ready-to-wear space. They interviewed a couple of people. Once I got interviewed, they said, we like you. We think we may do something with you. I called the guys for 6 months. They never picked up the phone. This is before cell phones were out. I felt insulted, and rightfully so, but also they were looking at other opportunities. It's not their job to answer my call again after that, but I think they should have said, hey man, we're not interested. I go to the trade show, the Magic Trade Show in Vegas. They're sitting at a table, and one of the big buyers from like a store was like, "Holy shit, is that the FUBU guys?" And he talked to his, and they said, "You better get those guys."
Power shift.
Right. Now all of a sudden, my phone's on fire the next day by these guys. I'm like, hey, motherfucker, remember me? You ain't talk to me before, Pimpin'.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was hungry at the time, and
that's exactly how you talk too.
I was like, yo, baby boy. So a normal a designer deal, I'll call it, in fashion is generally like, if I'm gonna put up all the money and all the resources, we're going to split this thing 25% to you or 30% to you and 70% to me, because I may have old inventory I got to get rid of. You don't have any personal guarantees at hand. I got to deal with all this shit. Yeah. I'm taking a lot of risk, but you're making clean money. But because they pissed me off so much, I had said, listen, if I come in tomorrow, we better sign a deal, and it better be a real distribution, 50-50 even split deal for the distribution. You guys will handle all the distribution, financing, this and that, and then I'll go ahead and out of ignorance, that became the deal. We've been partners for 25 years, and we've made massive amount of money, but we always felt that we could see eye to eye. And it was just out of that ignorance.
If you want to learn how to make yourself more desirable in relationships, then check out this powerful interview with relationship therapist Esther Perel.
The love stories per se are not life stories. There's some things that you don't need in order to have a beautiful love story with someone.